Welcome back to Askewed Reviews, and today we are doing another fan request, and it is for the 2008 horror thriller western, The Burrowers. Here is your trivia question for today. J.T. Petty, the writer and director of this film, also wrote the majority of the stories for what horror video game franchise? The answer will be at the end of this video. So, this movie takes place in the Dakota Territories of 1879, and we start to see what it's like for the pioneers and settlers. Unfortunately, for one particular family of settlers, something goes horribly wrong as they are attacked in the middle of the night, and most of the family is either killed or kidnapped. Now, our unlikely band of heroes seems to be comprised of two current or former lawmen, an Irishman, a man who used to be a slave, and a young teenage boy who is trying to prove that he can be a man. Now, at least at the beginning of this journey, they are joined by a local cavalry run by Henry Victor. Now, our group is under the assumption that the ones who murdered and kidnapped this family are a Native American tribe that they are trying to hunt down. Now, our group of main characters has begun to notice things that might allude to something else. For instance, burrows that are very large in the ground that keep being found near the areas of where people are murdered. Now, the cavalry that they partnered with are unwilling to believe the possibility of something besides Native Americans. So, our group of heroes disbands from them and tries to set out on their own to figure out what's the mystery that's going on here. At one point, our group stumbles upon a woman buried in the ground, and to their shock and surprise, she's actually not dead. In their travels, they run into a Native American woman named Faith, who seems to be the only one to tell them the truth about what's going on. The truth of the matter is that it is not Native Americans that are killing and capturing people, but creatures known as the Burrowers. Now, these creatures have been around for some time, but have primarily fed off of bison. But since Manifest Destiny has been killing them off, they've changed up their palate for what they're hungry for. Now, can our band of heroes stop the creatures, find the missing people, and save the day? Apparently, the original title for the film was 10,000 Little Indians. I think The Burrowers was a better choice. Now, the movie states that it takes place in the Dakota Territories, but in actuality, it was filmed over 23 days in New Mexico. Apparently, it took over 3 years of concept sketches to come up with what the creatures would look like. And that makes me a little sad that this is what they ended up with. I'm sorry, but I just do not find them scary, terrifying, or even remotely burrowing type creatures. It especially just makes me sad because the actual concept of these creatures and the type of paralysis and burying of alive people that they do is absolutely terrifying. This is also yet another movie where I feel a lot of the cinematography was just very dark and hard to see at times, and I don't like it when they do that. Here's two quick things about this character and actor. Doug Hutchison apparently insisted that his character needed to have that handlebar mustache, which just looked so ridiculous. And another thing that just added to this character being such an absolute creep is he carried around a tobacco pouch made from the scrotum of a Native American man. What's really sad about this is that did actually happen from time to time in the actual Old West. It was more common, though, for tobacco pouches to be made from the scrotums of actual animals instead of people. So, when it comes to the film The Burrowers, I felt it had a lot of potential. The story could have been really good. The creatures had so much potential, but ended up looking like just hot garbage, in my opinion. And the cinematography wasn't that great. One of my other big issues is none of the characters were all that likable. So, unfortunately, I am going to have to give this film a 2 out of 5. Now, as for the trivia question from the beginning of this episode, J.T. Petty, the writer and director of this film, also wrote the majority of the stories for what horror video game franchise? Petty is actually the one who created the storylines for the Outlast video game series. Not too surprising though, because as I mentioned, the creatures themselves, story, and nature in this film are absolutely terrifying. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Askewed Reviews, and if there's a movie you'd like to see get a review, just mention it in the comments. And as always, like, comment, share, and subscribe.